Hey guys, bringing you our first real Final Fahrenheit video. We're here with Zachary Neves, who got top 8 at the Magnet Ifrit Cup thing. What did you play, Zach?
I played Ice Water. It was mostly the 6 engine, the new Tactics Advanced stuff, typical Ice staple cards, and then the minor part of the deck being summon based, which is when I based all the water aspects outside of Minwu. But we'll get to that in a second.
Okay, we'll get into it.
All right. We'll start with the Ice staple cards. Played 3 Devout. This card, I don't know, it's really self-explanatory. It's been around since Opus 1. It brings you back a card that you need to answer a specific scenario. It helps with combo pieces. It's great all around. The best part about this card is the mistranslation, or the direct translation from when we were first looking at Japanese lists when the game first started here with Opus 2. It translated through Google Chrome to dentist, so that's our inside play there.
Yeah, I gotta play the playset of dentist in every deck.
He'll get you a good dental appointment in. Up next, I played 2 Duke Larg. In playtesting, I wasn't playing this card. But when I was playing against Mono Water, they had access to the Waka, and it just led to some really awkward scenarios where they would always they'd always win the battles and stuff, and it's a good 3-drop. I mean, it's still relevant. But we'll see going forward, because I think you can't, there's enough cards to make it where you don't have to play that card. But it was good for the weekend. Up next, we have the new 2-drop Sage. It's basically the chill in the bot that you want to get at the beginning of the game. For the second day tournament, they did a 1K. I bumped this card to 3. It's just something you want to see early, and you want to have stuff to pitch to freeze 2. Works well with the 2-drop Shiva from Opus 3. It's good all around. It puts something in front of them that they have to worry about later on. They're always thinking about it, so it could cause hesitation in your opponent. Last of the Ice staple backup cards, Jill Nabat. This card's great. I considered taking it out for this tournament specifically, just because. I don't know. It's just a card I hate seeing at the beginning, because it's just this vanilla card that just sits there until you get the special. They have the Emperor. It's useless, and at the second day I almost took it out, but ended up taking a different card out instead, because I played 6 hard backups that couldn't remove themselves from the field, and I thought that this was the 6th one that I was going to remove. But we'll get to what happened with that later. Up next, we're going to talk about the 2 packages I ran in the deck. The first one being the 6 package. Setzer, my favorite card in the deck. He makes multiple appearances throughout a game. He's an excellent target for Famfrit, which we'll get to later. But he searches. He's just like Steiner from Opus 3, except for he doesn't have any X-Burst, which is probably draws him away from people, as opposed to what Steiner brought to the table. But his leave the field, or his enter the break zone effect, definitely makes him worth it, because he's basically 3-drop Shiva from Opus 1 rolled into a forward. So he's putting pressure on, and then you play this. You search the Sid from 6, and you play that. And if they get rid of this somehow before you play the Sid, you search this, and then you do it again, and you're constantly setting your opponent back with those plays. Up next, we have Sid, who I was just talking about. Searches Category 6 forwards. Setzer searches characters, so he can search Sid, much like Steiner. And then Sid you could consider as the Ico of this deck. But the forwards that you can search with Sid as opposed to the forwards that you can search with Ico, I feel like are more well-rounded and can address different scenarios. Speaking of which, our first water card that we're talking about, Strago, played this guy at 2. Playing him at 1's not really worth it because you end up just tossing him for CP at the beginning of the game and you never see him again because there's just better devout targets. But having the EX burst there, as well as like a Leviathan with legs, is great. So it's a good card. The special didn't really come up at all, sadly, but I had one opportunity to use it on day 2 and I messed up. Anyways, moving on. We've got both Terras. I played 2 of 3-drop Ice Terra, the hero from Opus 1. Can't be chosen by summons. It makes their summons more expensive by 1 cost. The special is pretty relevant, especially if they know you have the Terra, then they're going to be shy to attack into it, or they're going to hold off for a bit. But giving the 3K and then having Duke Larg to get it up to 10K with First Strike is extremely relevant. Playing this in a deck with more burn would probably be a bit more frightening with the First Strike. But there's other ice forwards with First Strike, like Meowcat, Kunmei. But anyways, moving on. This Terra, she can search any summon 5 costs or less upon entering the field, and then her special is she can search any summon in the game, which is extremely important. It's going to be relevant for a long time, and it does 6,000 damage to something. So there's some really cool combos that we saw over the weekend. I think this card's going to see a lot of play coming up. Last but not least, Locke. This is like easily one of the best 6 forwards. I am definitely going to play this at 3 because like when you play Setzer late game and you're searching for something, you want Locke. It was so good every time. One game I damaged out Locke, and I think it was round 2. I damaged out Locke and couldn't play him again, and that was terrible. But yeah, no, his special is extremely relevant. He becomes unblockable, so it's kind of scary though, because if they have any sort of interaction to get him off the field, you kind of waste the card. So I don't know, you give and take with that, but that didn't happen when I was playing it, so it went well. Up next, we have the Tactics Advance Engine, which is surrounded by Mute. Learned this story. I don't know if y'all have ever played the games, but there's a lot of really cool games. My friend Matt told us all about this game and how it unfolds from start to finish kind of deal, and it sounds like a really awesome game that I'd like to play one day. But anyways, back to this game. It does not search Babas, but Babas is from Tactics Advance. This card's great. It makes like something I saw happen a lot over the weekend is like they would have a forward and they would be like, or they would have their backups set up, and they would go do this, and then they'd see Babas on the field, and they're like, and then they'd play a card out of their hand instead, so they'd have something so their guy wouldn't get frozen. And a couple people actually overpaid and paid a card out of their hand because they messed up. So this card draws misplays a lot. I'm not saying you should bet on that, but it definitely was a relevant part of the weekend. 2-drop. What are they getting rid of this? Like the only thing that I think that can get rid of this card and then not lose out on anything is honestly the new Hecaton Share, because it's 2-drop, so like it matches the cost that you paid for this. But that's it, and then they're wasting their Hecaton Share that they could have used it on something better and bigger. So I don't know. Very good card. Up next, Remedy, which feeds into Sid Randall. I played this at 1 because Golbez isn't as relevant. I didn't really expect to see a lot of mirror matches because it's good against Devout. These two on the field together is really great because this is enter the field from like the break zone or the deck, and this is enter the field period. So if they pay 1 but like they can't pay this, then it comes in dull. I don't know. There's just a lot that happens there, and they buff each other. So he becomes a 4-drop 9K, and she becomes a 3-drop 8K, and then you have Duke Larg that adds another 1,000 on there. So they're really cheap. I don't know if I'd consider them to be the next Squall Laguna combo because they don't like interact in the same way, like with the enter the field effects. But they're both really good. Remedy, I could see like not being 100% necessary. For day 2, I did take out Mute. I spoke about earlier taking out one of the 6 hard backups, and it was Mute, which kind of stunk because it is an EX burst, but it was just the least valuable of all the backups. I'll get to more specifics about that later. All right, moving on. This is more of the stapley forwards of the deck. Vayne, excellent card. Really good against water right now because they have a lot of 5-drops. Can help with against lightning. Excellent devout target because it's enter the field, dull everything, dull 5-drop or higher effect. The specials, I've never used the special as long as this card's been out. I've been playing. I played Ice Lightning for a while, and then went to Wind Water for a bit. But I've never used this card special ability. It's never been relevant. Mecha Chocobo. This was one of my outs to the Emperor. I do wish I would have played 2 of it, just because it's just a threat that they have to deal with. Especially with playing things like the 2-drop Shiva and stuff like that, you're gonna get its effect off, and even if they do block it, you're still trading just as much as you would have traded for with a 4-drop Odin, and this gets rid of any forward, so you're not restricted to 4 or less. So it's kind of the same, and because of how its ability is written, it breaks immediately, so you don't inflict the 7K to whatever blocked it, which kind of stinks, but once again, you're killing something, so it's a good card. Genesis, this card, I feel, lost a lot of value coming into Opus 4. I don't think it's as good, simply because of, I don't have, I play tested it at 2, and it just didn't seem as good anymore. I think a lot of it has to do with it not being on curve with the 4-drop 7K. I don't know. I was debating between playing 2 of this or 2 of this, and I went with 2 Vayne just because Vayne's always a great card and locks people down that rely on the high costed cards. Up next we have the Emperor. Everyone saw the Emperor coming with monster meta being a thing now. This card shuts down 90% of them. It kind of stinks because the one monster it doesn't shut down is a big threat to my deck, Cleone. But it's like Cleone, Tonberries, enter the field effect. Perry, can you think of any others? I think that's it. I think those are the only 2 it doesn't stop.
Yeah, that's the only 2.
Yeah, which are... They're both in water, so like it makes the water matchup a little harder, but it's okay. I didn't really run in. I ran to one guy that played Cleone, and round 2 was my one loss. It was a water mono water player playing the 9 engine, some other stuff, but he got top 8. And last card, this card I attribute to playtesting last week. Before the event, this other guy that got, did he get top 4, Adam? I can't remember.
I'm not 100% sure.
He got into the top 4 or top 8. He was playing standard units. He changed his deck a bit for this tournament, so he wasn't playing the same deck that I playtested against, but he would get these crazy fields with like 6, 7 guys with like 10K plus power. And if he had any sort of advantage of me, I had no way to catch back up. So this card helps a lot with those really aggressive decks that just go nuts. The other thing about this deck, and this is kind of like a secret, it's not really a secret, but I'm giving away like one of the things that one of the ways that I was playing this weekend is I would play, whenever I play against Lightning, I'd play the backup game. And literally if I had a backup, I would play it and play it and play it because they'd be holding the Alcid combo. And I would just play as many backups as I could, digging for the Menwu, hopefully, because then they waited all that time to play out their hand just to not have something successful. So that was one thing, is like the flip side of Cloud of Darkness, is if I like had to gain back, that was another thing that happened. All right. I'll talk about some of the interactions real quick. Cloud of Darkness with Setzer is awesome. I really wanted to fit in Scholar, the 2-drop water forward from Opus 1.
Backup. Backup.
Yeah, did I say forward?
Yeah.
Yeah, the 2-drop backup to try to save another card in the case I Cloud of Darkness, but I don't know, I couldn't find room. And I don't know, it just would have been nice to be able to pop Setzer with the Cloud of Darkness, because it's when it leaves the field. Yeah, put from the field into the break zone, so it's not like it doesn't have to be broken specifically. So Cloud of Darkness sets off Setzer. So when it leaves, you dull and freeze their last remaining forward, and then hopefully you have an attacker. In that, hopefully it's lock, because if you save lock and you're attacking, then you're taking another card out of their hand, and I don't know, you're just setting them back big time. So it's a good play. All right, now we'll talk about the water summons, or the water backups, as well as the summons of the deck. Unit R, I've played this card for a really long time now. I've tried playing mini decks with this, some experimental stuff. I played Final Fantasy 12 base deck, and it was Lightning. It was Wind Lightning, Opus 3. And I played like 13 water cards, and it was literally 2 Ephemeral Summoner, 3 unit, and then 7 water summons. So 12 water cards altogether. And that deck was a lot of fun. I'm excited for the new 12 stuff to come out in March. They're coming out with a new starter, so I want to see what the new Vaughn does. But no, this card was great. I started this deck based around this and the Tactics Advanced cards, and that like this is making the game cheaper for me to play. This makes the game more expensive for my opponent to play. So that was the whole idea. I tried doing it before Opus 4 came out with like Kunmei and some other stuff. Kunmei's probably going in this deck. The first strike's really relevant, especially with some of the summons I'm playing. But anyways, that's that. Minwu, like one of the best backups in the game. People always talk about this card when they talk about water, and like needing an out to it, and how are they going to deal with this? So Wind Lightning having Archer to deal with this is great. It stinks that Wind Lightning wasn't more relevant before, but it's definitely relevant now. I played against it 3 times in the week, at least twice. I played against Perry the second day, and then I played against it 3 times. I played against another guy that got top 4 the first day. I played him in Swiss and won, and then I played him in top 8 and he won. That's a game I'll get to in a second. But anyways, we'll talk about the water summons real fast. Famfrit, Fairy, Triple Cuckoo Lane. Perry and I argued about this card a lot. He died trying to tell me not to play this card. He's still here. He's not actually dead. But Fairies for the mirror, in case I saw it, just to activate something, get that draw. It's a good EX burst. But yeah, it's just a good battle trick. I used it 2 or 3 times, and like when people would attack into it, and I would win those battles. The draw is great too. Famfrit sets off Setzer. I wish I could have played Renoa, but there's just too many outs of that card right now. I may go back into it. Jared got second place, the 1K. He was playing 3 Renoa, and it made me want to play Renoa again. But yeah, so that's that. Non-target removal is always great. Cuckoo Lane, when you play this card, you're playing it to win a battle. Like, you're not playing it to like maybe win a battle. You do the calculations in your head. You think about the potential outs they could have to it. If you're playing against Earth and they have Golem, I don't know, like stuff like that. Like you're always thinking about like what could potentially make it where they win. I've loved this card since Opus 2. I played it at the Jacksonville 1K, and it won me a couple games. When you play with Yuna, it's a 3-drop. You draw a card, so it's essentially a 1-drop that you're paying 1 CP basically for winning a battle, and that's 100% great. Fairy being 1-drop, Famfrit 2-drop, Kukulain 3-drop with the draw. I mean, Fairy is super free, just because you draw a card too. Shiva. This card won me a lot of games day one. I bumped it to 3 for the 1K. It's a great card. It's really good at the end of the game when you're trying to push for damage. Zalera, it's not as relevant now as it was in Opus 3, mainly because the deck you're using against is Water, and Water has a major out to it in that they have Cleone. I did use it against Adam in round 6 and took out Knight. I don't remember the 3. It took out a 2-drop, a 3-drop, and then Lena. So it was like really good for that. But I don't know. There was just too many circumstances or too many situations where it wasn't going to work or be as good as it was in Opus 3 because of Cleone. That was just the card I was afraid of with this card. Everything else I was fine with playing, but this one, just because it's such a specific, like you're waiting to really neg them. These other ones you can use like at pretty much any time, but this one you're waiting to really mess them up and get as much out of that 4 CP as possible. The only other card I would argue that you wait for is Kukulain, just so they have enough dull forwards to really take advantage of it. But yeah,
I remember when you broke 7 of my forwards.
Oh man, so Perry and I played a couple weeks ago. He was playing Mono Water
Monsters.
Mono Water Monsters. He had 7 forwards. I'm not talking monsters. He had 7 forwards on the field.
And 3 Cleone.
And 3 Cleone. He had 3 Cleone, the card I was afraid of with this thing. I had 2 Zalera and 1 Shiva, 4 cards don't matter in my hand, and 4 backups. I doled the 4 backups, played the Zalera, kicked off the 3 Cleone. He got 3 draws. Played the Shiva, doled the last 2 forwards because he had attacked a bunch the turn before, and then played the final Zalera and broke 7 with it. That felt so good. I spent 10 CP, but I got rid of 7 forwards. He recovered in 1.
I Cagnazo'd like 10 forwards.
Oh my god. he Cagnazo'd for 7K or something?
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
that's what it was. You had the Emperor, so I just had to raw Cagnazo.
Yeah.
And then you did the Zalera, and then I just recovered because I drew 3.
So
It was the
stupid.
craziest game ever.
Yeah, there was a lot of extreme things happening in that game. So to prep for we'll talk about day 1. Dang it, I didn't. 1 second. Overall, I'm just looking at my matchups real quick. Dang, I should have done this before we started the video.
Oh, did you write it down in like a...
Yeah, I wrote down in the group chat.
Oh, Pixie move.
Yeah, I got our puppy Pixie in here. Donuts. Oh my goodness, what is going on? I went too far. Wow. I think I'm just gonna have to.
Alright, what is the matchup that stands out most in your mind?
I'm just gonna talk about it. First round was against Lightning. A lot of back and forth. It was a good game overall. Honestly, it could have went either way, and that's how this game is. Like this game can go either way. It's just who has the outwin, and because outplaying is definitely a big part of it. But when you're both playing to your best potential and neither player is misplaying, it really could go either way. And tricking your opponent is definitely a key part. So Mono Lightning play is our friend Rodney. we played. It was a good game overall. And then next I played Mono Water. Holy cow, this guy, he had Mog 6. It's like the 1/6 character that I'm not playing outside of Celeste, which I'll talk about in a second. But he had Mog 6, and I didn't have a way to out it at the beginning of the game because I was trying to set up my backups and stuff. And I didn't have an out, so I just had to play with it. And he drew at least 3 cards off of it. And it's a 3-drop 4K that can't be targeted if you have 2/6 characters, which he wasn't playing it for that reason. He was playing the 9 engine. He drew 3 off of it, which was great. And I had to deal with it to get off the field so he'd stop drawing cards, because drawing 3 during your turn is really good, especially if it's every turn. He just had too much advantage. I couldn't come back in that game. Next, so I lost that. I went down, played Fire Lightning. I believe this was round 3. Played our friend Matt. It was a good game overall. He saw a lot of backups that he didn't want to see early. That was the one thing that I noticed the most. But it was a good match overall. Then played Wind Lightning. This guy I played in top 8. He just I feel like that the 5-drop Lulu is dangerous because if you sacrifice too much of your backups, it just can set you back, especially against this deck, because you're trying to keep up with the disadvantage that like is being put on you. But that was a good game. It was close. I'm like totally blanking because it was 6 rounds. But anyways, we'll keep going. I played Mono Lightning. I played against Mono Lightning again. That was pretty good. let's just move on and talk about the cards, because this was a few days ago. Celeste is probably the 1/6/4 that I didn't play besides the Mog 6. It's good. It's a card that I want to playtest with more, because I feel like it's a card that you want to time really well at a pivotal part in the game. It's one of those things that sets someone back just enough to lose, because you can when it enters the field, it freezes a character, so you can freeze a monster, a backup, or a forward. And I don't know, in like some matchups, like say the deck runs, like the deck you're playing against plays Magic Pot. Magic Pot comes in dull, so you can't use its effect on entry like you can with Goblin and Yauman. But yeah, you freeze the Magic Pot and then it just sits there for 2 more turns, which is pretty strong, especially if they really need to get that thing off. But yeah, it's a good card. I just need to playtest it more. I feel like to get that, it also can negate a summon as its special ability. But I feel like if you're doing that, you really want to play 3, because you're not going to hard draw one, search the other. That's going to be pretty hard to do. So you want to play 3 if you're really going for that angle. I didn't play the 3-drop summoner that negates summons, just because the 3-drop backup spot was really tight. I'll go over what I changed real quick for the day 2. I took out the Tuzalera. I took out Mute, and I took out Light Terra. Where is she? There she is. Took out Light Terra. Light Terra, it conflicted with the Emperor, but that didn't come into play at all the day before. It's just, I don't think it just was. I think this is a card that you want to play more than just one of. I don't think you really want to just tech it in as a one of, even though you're like able to ignite the hero Terra. But the cards I put in the 3rd Shiva, the 3rd Famfrit, the 3rd Sage, and Rare Terra. Rare Terra actually came up in a game where I could have done the double thing, but there was just another play that was a little better. The double damage upon entry with two dual forwards. I don't remember the play exactly, but there was something I could have done better and went with that route. But this card's great. I really want to play this in an Ice Lightning deck. I'm working on that now. Sage, you want to see this card as soon as possible, so taking out Mute for this Sage is great, because then you're lowering your curve, and you're hopefully resolving this sooner. This set a lot of people back. Famfrit, one more way to get the Emperor off if they drop the Emperor early and don't have any other forwards to counter it. Pops to the Setzer, like we talked about earlier. It's a good card overall. There was one matchup over the weekend where I resolved it twice while I was building my backups, and it was basically 7-drop Odin at that point, killing things. So and then Shiva, that card. Oh man, there were some games I was able to dominate just by having that card in hand, like the whole game. You just don't let your opponent play. You have this thing to freeze them afterwards. It's good overall. I mean, Angel and the bot too. Because you pay 2, play this, pay 2, play that. Oh, I don't know. It's 6 CP to dull and freeze 2 cards, which is really good overall. I have some shout-outs to make. Cloud of Darkness definitely came in really well with some certain matchups. I definitely owe that to Adam Kelly. Setzer, favorite card in the deck. Starts off so many things. Setzer for Sid, Sid for Lock, or Sid for Setzer in case they pop the Setzer. Just a lot of stuff there. Celeste is strong, but needs more testing. Not sure if I'd played it 3. Lock I'm putting to 3. If I had a late game Setzer, I'd really want to search for it. I'm considering playing the Mog 6 card just because of that draw type thing. It's kind of comparable to the whole Babas thing. I mean, are they really gonna spend resources to get this thing off the field? Yes, they are. But then it's distracting them from what you're really trying to do. And if they don't get rid of it or they don't have an out, you're drawing cards. So I just have to find room and find out if it's really worth it. Because then I'm cutting things like Vayne or Genesis or something, and those cards are very strong on themselves. Jacksonville Community's